story that I was sharing with them this morning. As some of you know or may not know, my wife and I serve as missionaries to Haiti. We go down to Haiti. We'll come back to raise money here and then use those funds to fund what we're doing in Haiti. But my wife also has what we believe is a mission, and she travels around the country here in the States teaching the principles of liberty and teaching our Constitution. And she doesn't charge a fee to do that. We operate solely on love offering. So when she goes to whatever meeting, whether it's 8 people, whether it's 800 people, we don't say, pay our hotel, pay our plane fare, and give us this amount of money. We're going to come. She says, I'm going to come. I'm going to teach. I'm going to do what I believe God has asked me to do, and that's that. If you want to donate something, fantastic. If you don't, whatever. We trust that God will meet our needs. And that's how we operate. That's how we pay our bills. We operate on love offerings, donations. Can I tell you this morning, in 6 years doing that, we've never missed a meal, never missed a bill. And I was sharing this morning, some of the locals know the story when my wife began teaching the Constitution, and she taught. She worked for the Christian Law Association with David Gibb, and then came back and went back to the state attorney's office as a prosecutor here in the Third Circuit with office in Live Oak. And people heard about what she had done in the Constitutional Christian Law Association, and we had some, I don't know if anybody remembers, in Live Oak at one point there were some Wiccans who were disrupting meetings in Live Oak and making a big thing about prayer and things like that. And the school superintendent, upon another person's advice, asked Chris Ann to come and work on, to testify and give work on a neutral prayer policy to make sure that things weren't turned in the wrong way. And so she did that, and she testified there, and some people were there who were in the Republican Party, Republican Executive Committee, and then there was somebody connected with Tea Party in Gainesville. So they invited her and said, would you come teach on the Constitution? And she did. And then she taught in middle school and high school around in this area, teaching the Constitution. It's not, by the way, not a political message. It was a historical message and about constitutional principles. And as some know, the story, the prosecutor, the state attorney at the time, was a very politically oriented man. And so he said, you need to stop doing that. You need to stop your associations with right-wing fringe groups, or I'll fire you. She said, well, I'm doing this on my own time, on my own dime. I'm not talking about my cases. I'm not presenting myself as state attorney, speaking for a state attorney, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, she says, I don't plan to stop doing this. And so anyway, final day, she was challenged, and he said, are you going to stop? She said, you didn't give me my liberty. I'm not going to surrender it to you for a paycheck. So he says, clean out your desk. Well, at that time, we had planted a church, and for 3 years, I didn't take a salary. It was a new plant church, and we were just building. She was the only income at that point, and we prayed about it, and I said, look, you've told people, over 1,000 people, that we got to stand up for our liberty. How's it going to look if we roll over when you're challenged? So I think we just ought to trust God and do what we feel is the right thing to do, and that's what we did. And I tell you all this because the point is he sees your situation. So we were no income at all, and said, okay, we trust the Lord. He's going to take care of us. So it was a big stink, and there was a little bit of protest around the state attorney's office in Live Oak. There was about 300 people yelling at the state attorney. I'm not going to say his name. And Neil Cavuto got wind of it and interviews Chris Ann. She's on TV. And so these donations start coming in from around the country. And we get this one donation from a family, and the mom or dad writes a note. And they send a check. The check is something like $113.87. And we thought, who writes a check for $113.87? We laughed, and then we read the letter, and it said, we appreciate, you're standing up for what you believe in. We appreciate you standing for the future of our children in America. And we collected this little bit that we had laying around. Our kids put their allowance in here. And so we wanted to send you this. And that's what it added up to. And we thought, oh man, what a great blessing. We kept the letter. Well, about a week later, the electric bill came. Guess how much the electric bill was? $113.87 to the penny. Amen? And that was not the only time that has happened, and it just keeps happening. What I'm trying to tell you is God knows and sees your situation. He knows what you're going through. He cares about what you're going through. He is able to deliver. He is able to meet our needs. Sometimes I think maybe just what God is waiting on is for us to simply haul off and trust Him.
Amen.
Amen? Amen. It's not that He doesn't see what's going on. It's that He wants to do, by the way, what is His highest aim. And that is glorify Himself.
Yep.
How many understand this morning that the highest aim of God is His glory? Don't get this flipped this morning. I don't want to preach this in a manner that says his highest aim is to take care of you. No, His highest aim is His glory, and He will take care of you in such a way that glorifies Himself. Amen? So you can trust Him because He sees your situation. We serve a God who sees. By the way, I'm sure many people could stand up and give a similar testimony to the one I just gave. Amen? How many through the years have found it true that God sees your situation and He is able to meet your need? He is able to deliver and take care of you. Can I get an amen this morning if you believe that? I'm trying to encourage this morning. We serve a God who sees. He sees our situation. 2 Kings 19, we find Sennacherib surrounding the people of God. They're under siege and under attack. And I think it's Hezekiah that begins to pray. He says, God, we're in a mess. We're surrounded. They're starving us out. They're killing us. The enemy is all around. And we need your help. We need your deliverance. And Sennacherib is sending messages that to the people and to the king. He says, we have marched through here with our army and we've destroyed all of these cities and all of these places, and none of their gods have delivered them, have helped them, and your God will be no different. Amen. And Hezekiah prays, God, open your eyes and see what's going on here. Aren't you glad you don't have to pray to ask God to open His eyes? The Bible said, he that keepeth covenant with Israel neither sleeps nor slumbers. He had already seen what was going on with His people, and it was not the reputation of the people that was on the line. It was God's reputation that was on the line. And in fact, God saw the situation. God moved on the situation and delivered His people and glorified Himself, because it's not about them. It was about Him. Amen. It's about His name this morning. We're not here to make ourselves famous. We're here to make Jesus famous. And He wants to glorify Himself on the behalf of His people. And He sees what's going on. The disciples were rowing in the midst of the storm, but it wasn't long before Jesus descended and came walking on the water to where they were. Amen? You may find yourself in a storm this morning. Can I encourage you? Just keep rowing. Just keep rowing this morning. Amen. Are the waves beating against you? Just keep rowing. Are the winds blowing? Just keep rowing. It won't be long until you see Jesus come and walking in the midst of your storm. And when He speaks, the storm has to lay down. Amen? We serve a God who sees your situation. Can I say this morning? We serve a God who sees the sin around us. And sometimes when you look around, does it feel like the world has gone absolutely crazy? Yeah. And again, we get to thinking, God, why don't you do something about this mess? How can you let, as David said, the heathen rage? Why don't you come and do something? Amen? Yeah. Can I remind you, I believe it's Genesis chapter number 6. We have Noah, and God says that sin had come up. Amen. It was a stench. God saw the sin in the world. And then God, when he said he saw the sin, he promised to destroy the whole world because of the sin. Matter of fact, it said it repented God that he had even made man. Amen. That sounds like God's pretty mad about the sin in the world. God sees the sin around us. But can I tell you, when God made that declaration, he did not destroy the world that very day, but for 120 years, this continued. Why? Because it said that he found a man, and that man found grace in the sight of the Lord. And he let that man preach the message of righteousness for 120 years. Guess what? Only 8 people turned away and followed what he said. But you know what really strikes me this morning is who those 8 people were. Amen? They were that man's family. God sees the sin all around us, but why does it just keep going? Why doesn't God move? And why doesn't he do something? Well, because he's long-suffering. And I, for one, can, I believe, testify with Noah this morning. I'm glad he's long-suffering. Yeah. Hello? I don't know where you are. I got a little 24-year-old girl out there who needs the Lord. I'm glad he's long-suffering this morning. I know he sees the sin that's going on in the world. A lot of times we stand and we'll cry for judgment. God, judge those homosexuals. Judge these whatever. You fill in the blank. Amen. Do something about what's going on. Can I remind you this morning, God has already done something about the sin in this world. He sent his son to Calvary to die for that bunch out there that's caught up in sin, amen? And he wants us to bring the message of righteousness so that he can save those that he intends to save this morning. He's long-suffering, not willing that any should perish. I don't know about you, but I'm glad about this one. I got family out there that needs the long-suffering of God because they need to find grace in the sight of the Lord. Amen. He sees the sin around us. He sees the problems around us. When we were in Haiti, I got the privilege to preach a revival meeting to close out the end of the year. One place we preached through Jacob, preached some through the life of Jacob, and it struck me in one part where the Lord tells Jacob that he wants him to get up and he wants him to leave where he's at and go back to that place where he met the Lord. And it's funny, as you look at those verses, I think it's Genesis chapter number 32, you'll find that as the Lord tells him to get up and go, and as he gives him a destination, at the same time, it says that Laban's sons begin to rise up and persecute Jacob. Amen? And I always think about that when I look around and I see the problems, and when I see these so-called problem people, I always think of how that God will oftentimes allow trouble and situations and trouble in people to arise so that he can get you where he wants you to go. Yeah. Amen? How many things, I don't want to say get into too much detail, but how many things can we look around at what's going on in the world today, and had it not been for those things arising in the world, we would probably be still sitting in our luxury, in our prosperity, in our laziness, and have no desire to pursue righteousness and turn to the Lord this morning. We'd just probably still be going about our merry way. But I can think of many, many times where some evildoer, so to speak, comes on the scene, and it serves to stir up a revival of principles that we have long lost sight of. Exactly what. Amen? Amen. God is sovereign over what's going on. Yes, he sees what's going on around us. And by the way, He has a plan, and He is